Hello everybody out there in crypto land. How's everybody doing? So it's been about 10 hours since my last video, and these breakdowns in the crypto markets looks like they haven't done much sense. We have a few green numbers here. We're starting to see some support. Bitcoin held this prior high quite nicely. If you notice it, where my cursor is, it basically touched it and bounced right back twice. So that's pretty bullish action. We have a nice, this is called a hammer. You have a nice hammer bar here. So that's not bad. The volume isn't tremendous, but that's okay. But what this did do is it supported this level here, right at that breakout area, right at that breakout area. So that's good. This would be, I think this would be a really good time to add to many positions, and we're going to go through some of those charts. So this is Bitcoin, the 4-hour chart. You have basically a V-top pattern happening here. I don't anticipate much further downward action. It looks like the selling has subsided for now. So typically these will continue quite some time. You won't get these types of wicks if this is going to continue generally. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's just unlikely to happen. Typically what we see, if you notice how this downtrend was a little more prolonged at this stage, it's different price action. It doesn't come down quite as much, and there's not as much support. And then you don't get this curling up here. What we see is long wicks coming down in sequentially lower sequences. Let's give you a better view of that. So here we have a sequence of downs, lower low, and then we have a supporting low. Volume's pretty good down here. So right here is a pretty good volume bar. We were looking for a large volume bar signature. This might be it, along with coinciding with this top. But over here, this prior top wasn't held over here. If you notice, it came down, had a red bar, a low red bar, didn't really mean much, then a big red bar that almost looked like a bottoming bar with this volume, but it definitely wasn't, because just a couple bars later we just proceeded to continue the downtrend in higher and higher volume. On this sell-off, we have semi-high volume to begin with, so there's plenty of selling already happening in here. Okay, indicating that they're selling into the strength of the market. And then we see a bit of support happening here. It looks like there's a little bit of support here, but it's too close to this top to really be support. There's no levels over here. There's these two highs, and that's fine, and they appeared to hold them, but then they just failed. So if that happens, then obviously we're going to continue lower. If that were to happen, what I would look for is something called a measured move, where you would basically take this low right before it consolidated, and you actually could even extend that down here. You take this low, and then what you do is you would extrapolate it down like this. So if the low of this, or wherever it gets broken, if it gets broken up here, say this goes sideways like this, a little upward consolidation, which is upward consolidations like this are not constructive. They are not constructive consolidations. And then we're looking for a trip down here to about 4,000. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. The volume doesn't seem to support it at this time. It's not a lot of heavy selling. So I kind of think we're done here, but if we get below 4,500, I say you ditch it if you're trying to get long in this area again. Unless you're willing to hold through that move and back up, that's perfectly fine. I do think longer term this is going to go up. I don't think this isn't a killing blow for this movement at all. So Ethereum continued further since my last video. I think this or here is when I was doing my last video. We hence had a nice big down bar that just spiked, and I drew this trend line earlier. It just happened to literally touch it. Can't tell you who, what, when, or why on that one, but it did. And then it popped right back into this little area, kind of supporting this little topish, this area, kind of supporting here. Nothing crazy happening. But we talked in this last video about this rounded top, coming up and losing momentum and flattening out and then just dropping down. So this has a big wide consolidation here. If you notice, this has a big wide consolidation. It's a little different of a pattern here. We have a big shakedown, we have a big wick right here on some pretty heavy volume. In this particular base right here, we have heavy volume in this bar, but these right here don't show any heavy volume, indicating lack of buying pressure. Here we're seeing that buying pressure. So this could be the bottom of this particular downward movement into our handle formation. Maybe we'll come up and curl down, maybe retest this low. Maybe we never get there. It's hard to tell at this point, but obviously this is a bottom that has been cemented with some pretty decent volume, and I'm going with that right now. I'm going with that right now in Ethereum. If you did want to get in here, not mad at you for that, but be aware this could come back down to this level, maybe even a couple lower lows. We'll just have to wait and see. Bitcoin Cash, if my click would work. Looks like Bitcoin Cash had a couple nice little bottoms here. Notice we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing some buying pressure here, wicks to the downside, indicating that it was bought up, right? And so now volume looks like it's decelerating. Volume is getting quiet in this area, and now we're just in a wait and see mode with Bitcoin Cash. Ripple, just consolidating the same things. Still, we see a couple of long wicks here. Kind of similar thing right here. You see with these long wicks to the downside. Unlike here where we see long wicks to the upside. This is the first time I've seen this in these patterns to show you, but long wicks to the upside would indicate downward pressure, which led to this sell-off. Just like these wicks indicating upward pressure leading to this breakout. We may be seeing something similar here. Litecoin. We were talking about Litecoin. Actually, down here on this bar, I do remember that one in the 76 area, 75 area. I should have bought Litecoin back there, to be quite honest with you. A little disappointed I didn't. We're seeing this buying pressure here. Obviously, there's some selling pressure on this bar. The volume flattened out a little bit, but we're still going to consolidate this large upward move of about 100% from the breakout point. And that's going to take some time to work out. For now, for me, it's a wait and hold. If it gets back down in the 75 level again, I'm a buyer. Dashed all the way down. We were looking at this bar at the bottom, if I recall correctly. So, and look at that large volume signature. This indicates a bottom. This is really nice. You have some long wicks in the bottom, indicating some buying pressure right here. Is there any volume on this one? Nah, not really. Not really volume on this one. That would indicate lack of selling to me at that particular moment. It could be that they didn't want to sell at this point. They wanted to let it ramp up and take some more profit. So looks like we're going to form some kind of a consolidation here. We're just going to see if we're going to break up or down from that. NEM looks like is one of the leaders kind of coming out of this breakdown in the markets. It didn't do anything. NEM really didn't do anything. Reason being is because it really hasn't done anything for months. So NEM hasn't done anything for months. It's still basing. There was nothing for them to sell. There were no profits. So NEM didn't do anything. IOTA. Oh, I'm kind of pissed. I was not able to take my position in IOTA. I wanted to get in down at this level at about 66, 68. It's at 72 right now. Not too bad. Still a good position to get into IOTA, but I really wish I would have been able to get in down here. The problem is all my money right now is in, what is it, Bittrex or Bitfinex? I think it's Bittrex, and they don't sell IOTA. Only Bitfinex does. And I was in a rush to leave. I was doing something today with the kids, and anyway, I may still do that move to buy IOTA. I'm a believer in IOTA. The technology is fantastic. I don't think we go much further down. We have nice volume action happening on. Look at this bar right here with this volume. Okay, now it's a little. There we go. Look at that bar. The low bar with the high volume, just like this one. Look at this long bar. Look at this crazy long bar indicating buying pressure, preceding this upward movement. So we see a bottom here. We see a bottom here. There's some big buyers in IOTA, just like most of these cryptocurrencies, and they're showing their head here. Look at that, making another little pop. Monero. Not really sold that Monero's move is done to the downside at this particular point. This isn't really constructive. If you notice, we don't have those long wicks to the bottom. We do have one here, which is pretty nice, but the volume's a little lackluster. So there's not a lot of, I don't feel upward pressure here. Not to say it's not going to curl and go back up. It definitely could. Lack of selling usually leads to increased buying. So even if the selling subsides here and we don't get a lot of buying pressure, this should drift a little bit sideways then higher. So NEO again in a long consolidation, not doing much. So that's pretty much it. We're going to touch on Omisego. Omisego here. Coming down, having a spike down here into the 10s. So below 10, If you could think about it, 10 is a very nice psychological number where buying and selling would take place, right? So 10 appears to be support at this particular time. Anything below 10 in a Omisego would be a buy, I would say even down into this area, the 10, 20 level would be a buy as well. You want to get accumulated in Omisego over here. You know, we may have a large symmetrical type of triangle again. It's hard to say at this point, obviously, but Omisego is a buy. Lisk, we talked a little bit about Lisk not doing much, still not doing much. Well, Wave seems to have a little bit of upward movement, but they didn't really sell off either. So that's pretty much it. Our sell-off, much ado about nothing until we get another round, if we get another round. It looks like the selling has subsided for now, so that's good news for us. We have a nice start of a handle here inside of Ethereum. So let's go back to the 1 day and look what this looks like. Look at that. Let's take some charts away at this particular point. Let's just kind of look at this on a naked time frame here and see what it looks like. So not too bad. It looks like the start of a nice handle. We could drift up from here. This could be the bottom. Maybe we drift up and come down and kind of go sideways and then boom, break out, you know, in the latter part of this month. A couple of weeks here, guys, would be really healthy on Ethereum. I'm super excited about this. As you know, I get excited when I talk about Ethereum. I have a very large position in it. This large base is going to prelude a large move. So in the back of my head, to be honest with you, I'm thinking this could get to $800 to $1,200. On the very high side, I think 800 is in the bag in terms of breaking out from 400. This thing likes to move in about 300% spurts. 100 to 300% spurts, I should say. Yeah, from 50 to 100. It's another coin I'm thinking of that does 300. But so we have this one from 100 to 400. That's a 400% spurt. 100, 100, 400. Don't know if we're going to get another 400. It would be great. Don't get me wrong. If this thing would go to $1,600 per Ether, that would be phenomenal. At that point, Ethereum would be worth more than Bitcoin. Go look at my video on why Ethereum will be worth more than Bitcoin. It's on my channel. Check it out. So I'm excited about this. This is fantastic. But again, we're still talking. I'm still looking for a top in Bitcoin at about 6,000. That's kind of that's what I'm feeling. Don't take that as gospel. Don't trade off of that. I'm just kind of putting a call out there so I can be wrong later. That's kind of what I'm doing, I guess. So anyway, that's it. Looks like the sell-off was much ado about nothing, but it could have been. This is a nice dress rehearsal, guys, for when we do actually have a sell-off. Keep this in mind. This isn't a glitch. This happens. You don't believe so? Look at this. Look at this downdraft in Bitcoin. 50%, 3,000 to 1,800. So, okay, whatever. 40%, whatever it is. And then look at this downdraft. Look at this downdraft. These things happen, and they happen often, and right at the peak of rallies they sell off really hard. So you do need to be cautious. You do need to stay on your toes. This is the point to be optimistic. After a high, when it's based, come back up and is testing that high numerous occasions, and then it pops out of it. This is where you're optimistic. Not up here. Up here you're cautious. Up here you want to be on the defensive. You want to be looking to maybe do some selling or be ready to sell. All right, guys. So that's our shakeout. That's a review after about 12 hours of my last video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Pass this around. I do some pretty good in-depth technical analysis, as you guys know, and I think other people would like to see this. So post it on Reddit. Please post it on your social platforms, Twitter. I would really appreciate it, guys. Let's get this channel rocking. I have some big plans to do an educational site, so that's going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. So, all right, guys, have a good day. Happy buying.